The following is a quick introduction to solving systems of linear equations using Excel. We'll start by just looking at single equation in a single unknown. We usually would just solve this kind of equation by hand because they're so simple. Here we have 3x minus 9 equals 0, and we can solve this by hand to get x equals 3. If we have two equations and two unknowns, here in red equation 1 and equation 2, here we can eliminate one of the unknowns by replacing equation 2 by a simpler version of equation 2. And we do that by taking equation 1 minus equation 2 times 3 divided by 2. Essentially what we're doing there is by dividing equation 2 by the number 2, it cancels this 2, then multiplying it by 3, the whole equation by 3, we get the same coefficient for this term as this. So this term will become a 3x when we divide by 2 and multiply by 3. Then when we subtract that modified equation from equation 1, then this term cancels, leaving just the second term. So that eliminates the x unknown and we're just left with the y unknown. So that's what we have here. The first equation remains. The second equation is the first equation minus equation 2 times 3 divided by 2. Now we can simply solve this equation for y, and we get y equals 3. Then we can substitute y equals 3 into the first equation here and solve for x to get x equals minus 5. When we go to multiple equations and multiple unknowns, here we'll write this for a 3 by 3 system. Then we want to write these equations so that they have a more structured format. Here we've written this with coefficients a, which are all constants, and on the right hand side of the equal we'll have coefficients b, which are constants as well, and then the unknowns would be x1, x2, and x3. We know that this is a linear system of equations because all of the x variables that we're solving for only appear to the first power, and the coefficients are constants. They don't depend on x. We write this system as a matrix system, ax equals b, where a is the matrix of constant coefficients, little a, x is a vector of unknowns, and b is the vector of right-hand sides. So we'll solve a linear system in Excel by writing it in this format, a coefficient matrix, and then solving for the vector x. And we can see how to do that here. In Excel, there's two functions we're going to use. The first is called m-inverse, and the second is called m-mult. And these are special functions, and we'll see how in just a moment. The first thing we do to solve this matrix system conceptually is to recognize that we can rewrite this as x equals the inverse matrix A inverse times b. So the two operations are going to be, first, find the inverse matrix, and second, multiply that inverse matrix by b using a matrix multiplication. So in Excel, what we would do is, if we have the matrix A set up, and our unknown matrix x, and our known matrix b, then we first need to generate the inverse matrix A inverse. So step 1, highlight the destination cells, highlight those cells. Step 2 is to type equals m inverse parenthesis. Then we need to highlight the source cells, which in this case is the matrix A. So we highlight all of these cells. Then we hit an end parenthesis. Now we do not hit enter like we're used to doing. Instead we need to hit Control-Shift-Enter so that this will apply to the whole matrix. So Control-Shift-Enter, and we get the data. Okay. Now, after we have the inverse, we want to compute x. We do this using the m-mult command. We're going to multiply the inverse times b and store it in these green cells x. Step 1, highlight the destination cells. Step 2, type equals m-mult parenthesis Then we're going to highlight the inverse cells, comma, highlight the B vector, end parenthesis, Control-Shift-Enter. That's all there is to it. So this gives us the solution x for the system ax equals b. Now if we like, we can test this to verify that we get the right result. So we can take a times x and see if it recovers the b vector. So let's try that right here. We'll just say, let this be our right-hand side, and we'll go equals m mult, parenthesis, a, comma, x, end parenthesis, Control-Shift-Enter, and we should get b, which we do. All ones, and that verifies the result. That's all that there is to solving systems of equations using Excel.